Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. In this session, we continue with the Hadith of Jibril, except that now we move to take from the commentary of Hafid bin Rajab, rahimahullah. Hafid bin Rajab, regarding the Hadith of Jibril, he says it is a Hadith of tremendous importance, which comprises an explanation of the whole of Deen. The whole of Deen then is comprised in the Hadith of Jibril. In that mention is made of Islam, Iman and Ihsan. Islam is directed to the physical existence of the human being, to the body of the human being. Iman is directed to the mind of the human being. And Ihsan is directed to the heart. The Deen addresses the whole of human reality then, not leaving aside the life of the body in pursuit of a spiritual reality or in pursuit of the spiritual life. Hafid bin Rajab mentions that the narrations, the ahadith, differ in regards to whether Islam comes before Iman or vice versa. The Hadith of Jibril, as we read it in the 40 Hadith, Islam comes before Iman. And logically, because Iman is what validifies action in Islam, so a salah that's performed without Iman is not considered valid. So from the conditions of the salah is that a person be Muslim. So Iman then is that which rectifies our actions and makes them valid. So he says that in the Hadith of Umar, which Muslim narrated, he began by asking about Islam. But in the Hadith of Tirmidhi and others, he began by asking about Iman. As for example, in the Hadith of Abu Hurairah, in some of the narrations of the Hadith of Umar, which Muslim narrated, there is that he asked about Ihsan between Islam and Iman. So you find that the narrations differ, they give us different insights. The narrations differ and they give us different insights. As for Islam, the Prophet ﷺ explained it as outward action, such as words and deeds, the first of which is witnessing the Shahada. Now the Shahada crosses between Islam and Iman in reality. Although the Shahada here is mentioned as part of Islam, it crosses over into Iman. And the Shahada in and of itself has some conditions. We won't go into the details of those conditions at the moment, but there's conditions which pertain to the rights of Allah and conditions which pertain to the rights of the Prophet ﷺ. So the Shahada is considered to or determined to be an action of the tongue. Right. Then there's establishing the prayer, paying the zakat, fasting, Ramadan, and Hajj for the person who has an ability, who has the ability. They divide physical actions such as prayer and fasting, actions involving wealth like zakat, and one compounded of both of them such as Hajj. Hajj is action. In order for Hajj to be established, right, Hajj requires money and action. Zakat requires, or I should say like this, Hajj requires wealth. Zakat requires wealth, but Hajj differs from Zakat in that Hajj requires wealth and physical action, whereas Zakat doesn't. So it's an act of, both of those are acts of ibadah which require wealth. Whereas Salah and fasting, there's no wealth requirement. And there are other fundamentals, right? Where he says, but we only mention here the fundamental actions of Islam on which it is based, the hadith itself. As the commentary of that will come in the hadith of Ibn Umar, Islam is based upon 5. So the benefit here is that now Hafid bin Rajab is showing us the connection between the hadith, the munasabah. So what comes after is what? The hadith that Islam is founded on 5. That's the third hadith. And in reality, that hadith is followed by the hadith of the decree or qadr. So both of these are hadith 3 and 4 serve as explanations of the hadith of Jibril. Serve as explanations of the hadith of Jibril. They take an element and focus on it, right, of the hadith of Jibril. Now this is an important point here. His words in one of the narrations, what are they? Then if I do that, will I be Muslim? Right? So that's the foundational point. That Islam, as characterized in the hadith, is sufficient for one to be Muslim. Right? And in this case, we say, Muslim, I am Muslim with certainty. But in the case of saying I am a believer, I am a mu'min, you can say inshallah. But in the case of saying I am a Muslim, there should be certainty in that, right, with no hesitation. I am a Muslim, certainty in the statement, in the commitment. But as far as claiming to be an iman, a mu'min or a person of iman, I am a mu'min inshallah, right? I am from the believers inshallah, right? Because there's a differentiation, slight differentiation between being a Muslim and being a mu'min. Being a mu'min is at a higher state than that of being Muslim. Right? But what validifies our contract between ourselves and Allah is being a Muslim. Right? Everything after that is what they say, light upon light. Nurun ala nur. So then he says, these show that whoever completes his performance of the 5 pillars of Islam has really become a Muslim, along with the fact that whoever affirms the 2 shahadas has legally become a Muslim. Right? So in that sense, Hafid bin Rajab is indicating that the shahadatan is enough to be a Muslim without action. Detailed point. If someone enters Islam by that means, he is bound to undertake the establishment of the rest of the characteristics of Islam. Whoever leaves out the 2 shahadas has gone outside of Islam. Right? There is a well-known disagreement among the people of knowledge as to whether someone's abandoning the prayer means that he has gone out of Islam. And similarly, with respect to all the rest of the 5 pillars, which we will mention in its appropriate place, inshallah. So we'll stop there. So the reality of Iman then, when we look at the ulama of hadith, action is somewhere in the definition. I'm not going to say it's foundational to the definition because that in itself is a school of thought. But it's included in the definition. Right? Like Imam Abi Zayd al-Qarawani, he says, or al-Qayrawani, he says that action, confession with the tongue, right? Action with the limbs, belief in the heart, intention and sunnah, all of these things constitute Iman. All these things constitute Iman as a whole. There's details, of course. We're not going to go into the details at the moment because the details makes the issue complicated. And that's what Hafid bin Rajab said. We'll deal with that when it comes in its place. But overall, the definition of Iman as understood by the people of Hadith is what? Confession and action. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, and action. Right? That's the abbreviated form. Imam Abi Zayd al-Qayrawani, he adds intention and following the sunnah. So action needs intention, and then that action and intention must conform to the sunnah. And one of the reasons possibly is because Imam Abi Zayd confronted a lot of issues with the people of Bid'ah. So he wanted Imam Abi Zayd al-Maliki, he wanted to make sure that he established the Sunnah, right? He wanted to make sure that he established the Sunnah. So then, inshallah, until next time, may Allah grant us the reality of practicing the Deen, practicing Islam. And may Allah lighten our burdens for us and facilitate for us the reality of Iman. It was from the characteristics of the Sahaba that they feared that their station with Allah was not secure. And this is a reality. They feared Jahannam. And they understood that the hearts of the believers, right, are in the hand of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, between the fingers, Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. So a person can go from one state to another, right? A person can go from one state to another. But there's hope in that. Some of the ulama, when they talk about the decree, when they talk about qadr, they say a good plenty of people went from bad to good. And that's bushra, as they say, good news. But the reality is that we're not secure. And that's why we have to make dua to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala to give us hidayah. We have to ask Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala to manipulate our hearts so that they are firm and established in the Deen. Right? So that they're firm and established in the Deen. Right? Thabat. Right? Steadfastness and firmness and being established in the Deen. Constancy in the Deen come from Allah. So we ask Allah for that favor. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين وعلى أصحابه رضي الله عنهم أجمعين.